Welcome to episode number 3 of the Canadian Prepper Podcast, Politics of Prepping. My name is Eric, and I'm the host of the show. I'm based in Southern Ontario. I'm a hunter, target shooter, ham radio operator, VE3 EPN for all the other ham operators out there, and computer geek. I got into preparedness when I was working frontline in emergency services and witnessed an over-reliance on emergency services during major events such as ice storms, power outages, etc. I started a small preparedness company to help people get prepared and to look after themselves for at least 72 hours, if not longer.
Hi there, my name is Ian. I'm a co-host of the show. I live on Vancouver Island on a small hobby farm. I'm an outdoor enthusiast, hunter, reloader, and my farm's designated handyman. My wife and I are striving to be less reliant by relearning skills that are, for the most part, being lost to our generation. I've had lifelong interest in preparedness, and I'm gladly learning new skills on a regular basis. My professional background has allowed me to see pretty much every climate zone, province, and territory in Canada, and has also taught me to prepare for various unexpected situations daily.
So after we've caught up on the latest news, tonight's episode will be focused on the politics of prepping. We're also going to give you some updates on how we've progressed with our personal preparedness and steps we've taken to help improve it. So for personal preparedness this past month, finished harvesting up our garden, started getting ready for what we can for the wintertime. We've also started canning of some of the materials that we harvest from the garden. I'm especially excited about the hot peppers that we got this year. I'm going to be making some red pepper jelly out of them and some hot sauce as well. Also got the generator all ready to go, changed oil out, checked the air intake. I've got a whole home generator that powers the entire place if the power does go out. So it's important to make sure that it's maintained and it's running as efficient as possible.
As for myself, on the West Coast, we've set up our water catchment system for one of our chicken coops. It basically allows us to be less reliant on the water from the well, basically on the average of 50 inches of rain per year on the West Coast, which is quite a bit. And I did some quick calculating with the 12 by 12 roof of the chicken coop. That allows us to collect about 4,485 gallons per year, which works out to about 17,000 liters just off the one roof. There's a handy little calculator you can find online just with a quick Google search that will allow you to figure out how much water you can collect off any sort of roof. But the problem is catchment is one thing, storage is another, because, of course, with all that water flowing off, I don't have that many barrels, so that'll be the next project down the road, I'm sure. Anything else, Eric?
That's another good thing to mention, being on a well with the whole house generator I've got here. We're on a well as well. So if the power goes out, we have no water. So it's the added bonus of getting the generator running there is we can still run the pumps and get the water out of the well.
Absolutely, that works for us as well. As soon as the power goes out, we have no water. So without a backup generator, we're pretty much lost. So, of course, we have ours as well that basically we have on a trailer to run down to the pump house just in case it does come up. And then basically give us an immediate water supply if required.
Yeah, and I think the idea of the water storage there is important as well. It's something I want to build into my list of things here at the house at some point. Right now, we really don't have much for water storage. Just got the one rain barrel out the back, but sounds like you're well on your way to get some storage going.
Well, that's another whole podcast episode to itself, I would think.
I think so. Yeah, we're gonna have to get some show notes together for that, and yeah, for sure, it's going to be a future thing to cover off. Well, let's get into some latest headlines. So I've got an article here from October 17th from CNN in regards to Hurricane Michael. The death toll rises to 29, including 19 in Florida. As far as hurricanes go, don't really see them here in Ontario, but we do see some pretty good rainstorms and ice storms, etc., which could obviously cause some kind of effects in the area that you're living. So just read a little bit here from it. 6 days after Hurricane Michael pulverized parts of Florida, officials had more grim and devastating news. The death toll from the storm soared Tuesday to 19 in the state, with a dozen victims in hard-hit Bay County, according to authorities. So a couple of things we want to cover off here. I know it's not a Canadian article, but I just want to talk quickly about riding out storms or leaving before the crowds. Something you need to think about when you're putting your preparedness plan into place is if a major storm's coming your way, you're notified of it 24 hours or so. The local news will be talking about it. You got to start thinking, am I going to ride this out? Should I be hitting the road and getting out of here before it comes in? So things to keep in mind. If a big storm is coming, are you going to go and stock up? Are you going to try and beat the crowds? Do you have enough already at home to hunker down and stay and you don't have to worry about the crowds? just a couple things to keep in mind. I don't know if you got any thoughts on that, Ian.
Absolutely. It doesn't have to be a hurricane, I think, to actually be a major enough storm to cause problems, system-wide. We get something out here called a Pineapple Express. So this is basically just a leftover hurricane coming off Hawaii. And same thing happens, just high winds, heavy rain. It just not officially named, or, not as much media hype behind it. I think any storm that's serious enough to knock out the power lines is something to consider for sure. And I mean, not so much an evacuation in our case or anything else, but certainly is with trees coming down, even heavy winds, window breaking, roof damage, anything else like that. You should always keep that in mind of stuff that can happen for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And then speaking of like the heavy winds, we had that just a couple months ago here where I am, where we actually had a couple of trees come down on the property. Luckily, nothing hit the house. One came pretty close. But something to keep in mind is, having some stuff on hand to board up your place if you have to. A couple of old boards that'll fit over some windows and some way to tack that on to cover up your house if you think something's coming and you got trees in the area, you got something that might fall and hit your house. Being able to kind of protect a little bit could help you down the road, especially if you decide to hunker down and stay for the storm.
Oh, absolutely. Because I mean, you look at the newscasters and they're covering articles or showing stories of where people are raiding the Home Depot because they're all rushing at the last minute to grab a bag of roll of poly or some sheets of OSB or anything else like that. It's great thinking on their part now, but it probably should have been something they thought about 6 months before when they knew hurricane season was coming. But it's always the last minute thing for them.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, nobody wants to actually plan ahead for this stuff. They think the whole notion of it won't ever happen to me, or it kicks in, right? And then all of a sudden you're right in the thick of it, and you're realizing, it is happening to me, but it's too late because everybody else is coming to that realization as well, and everybody's rushing the depot to get all their supplies, and 9 times out of 10, it's already all gone.
Or the best part is if they haven't sold out before with generators, usually right after the storm passes, that's when they're definitely gone for sure. So.
Oh. Yeah, absolutely. Everybody will pick them up and start buying everything they can think of afterwards. And problem is they just leave it sit in the garage or they leave it sit somewhere, right? And they don't maintain it. They don't run it. They don't learn how to use it ahead of time, which is something else you'll want to do. Anything you do end up buying, make sure you know how to use it in a controlled environment where you're not rushing around thinking of a million things and with the big adrenaline dump going on. But yeah, to leave it sit, and the next time they go to use it, if something else happens, it's A, they don't know how to use it, or B, it hasn't been maintained, so it's broken.
Well, that's typical, with any piece of gear, whether it be anything, a hunting knife, a flint and steel, or whatever. I mean, you have to try your gear and make sure it works for you, and then make sure you know how to use it before you actually rely on it in an emergency event.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's certainly key.
Other than that, I think I've got one article I'd like to cover as well.
Sure.
It's called Snow Won't Go, and it's dated from October 11th this year. Just a couple weeks ago now. But interestingly enough, Manitoba is no stranger to snow, but they got it unseasonably early there. They actually had a storm come up. According to the CBC, that was only supposed to, dump about 3 to 4 centimeters on the highway, and ended up dumping 20 centimeters. Which of course,
quite the difference.
Yeah, so that's a solid 8 inches of snow. Not everybody has their snow tires on by this point or anything else, and certainly they're probably not prepared for an overnight stay on a highway when the highway shuts down. So, of course, that leads to another episode topic down the road of car kits,
absolutely.
I think everybody's been stuck on the highway or in the snowbank at some point in their life if they live in Canada. I think, anything from just having snacks, water, and a blanket on board, even a candle or a flashlight, I think would make you king of the road at that point because, it doesn't take much to make things much more comfortable.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Other than that, so like I said, we'd certainly cover that off in another episode. But like I said, even in Canada, with an area known for snow, it's not unusual to be caught unawares for sure. So I just wanted to cover that off. I'll put the link to the article in the show notes for sure.
Great, yeah, I'll add the link to the article I discussed there in the show notes as well. So anyway, just listening and wants to read the articles in any more detail, we've touched on the basics, but you can certainly open them up and have a read for yourself. And even if you want to flip us an email at some point and let us know what your thoughts are about the articles and what you'd be doing to prepare, or if you have other suggestions, we'll certainly get them out there. And we'll mention at the end of the show how you can get in contact with us. But yeah, the article there about the snow just kind of coming out of nowhere, that's something that happens in Canada, and we got to be ready for it. And 'tis the season. The snow is coming. It's the end of October, so before you know it, we're going to be shoveling and moving the white stuff for a while. And I know everybody's cursing and swearing at me now for saying that, but it's coming. So let's be ready for it.
It's a fact of life in most of Canada for sure.
You got it. All right, so let's move on to the main topic of the show, the politics of prepping in Canada. Politics, you mentioned to your friends or your family or a lot of people who are into this kind of thing, being preppers, they're kind of hesitant to mention what it is that what they're doing. They don't want to really mention the fact that they're a prepper. First off, you have a bunch of stuff. You don't want people to necessarily know that you've got all this stuff stocked away and you're ready versus them not being ready. But as well, there's a little bit of a stigma that goes with it as well, because it's the mainline media that has started some shows up that kind of portrays the prepper as that that crazy person who sits around the house and just plans for doomsday all the time. And that's not necessarily the truth. Are those people out there? Of course they are. But for the most part, people in the prepper area or in the preparedness mindset are getting ready for even day-to-day things such as power outages or snowstorms or ice storms.
Well, I think there's a lot to be said about that. I don't think the TV show like Doomsday Preppers has done anybody any favors. I don't think anybody that's involved in preparedness is sitting around with a gas mask on at all times just in case the bomb drops the last minute or anything else. And
no, certainly not.
And I mean, I also made a very special effort for this episode to remove the tinfoil from my hat for just to talk back and forth with you. It makes less noise this way. But in all seriousness, it's not out there as most people would make it out to be. Actually, most of the coworkers actually I've mentioned it to are kind of on board with the same idea. Most people in my kind of work, they tend to be concerned with the what ifs. So it works out well. I mean, I think most people have received it well, but people that probably don't want to hear it usually immediately lash out to the perception of the doomsday prepper type where you're sitting in a bunker, ready to go. But I don't think it's always dependent on what they've watched on TV. It might also be dependent on where you're from as well.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
I think the slide, certainly in the last 20 years, has been more towards like an urban versus a rural population majority. And, if you talk to older people, I mean, canning or, power outages or anything else is just a everyday occurrence. Younger people, they're likely, raised in or migrating to cities nowadays. They don't want to hear about it. They're more interested in, social media and everything else. They don't want to think about what would happen if the internet dies or the cell phone service dies.
Oh yeah, that'd be horrible, right? What would we do?
Exactly. And you talk to most older people, and you mentioned the fact that if you have chickens on the acreage, or if you have meat rabbits or anything, you might want to think of doing. They'll either have something good to contribute, tell you stories about when they add livestock, or how they, even give you canning food tips or anything else. I mean, most people of older generations have, knitting skills, sewed, certainly hunted. A lot of the younger people I talk to, I mean, they've slid more towards the idea of just-in-time food, like takeout food, no storage in their apartments for anything beyond maybe a meal or two. I don't think anybody in an apartment has a cold cellar nowadays.
No.
And certainly, as far as the other perception too is, I mean, I actually, even looking at my own family, there's nobody in the house here that can sew competently. I mean, my mom did, but she gave it up a long time ago. And I mean, thanks to everything from offshoring to China for cheap clothing, there's not much point in people learning how to sew when they can buy a T-shirt cheaper at Walmart.
Yeah, fair enough. And you gotta think as well. Just like your location could change your mindset. The colder climates, more preparedness minded versus warmer climates. Here in southern Ontario, where I am in the Barrie area, the heavy snow comes all the time, right? So you're kind of always getting ready for it. You know what's coming. You got your shovel ready to go. You got your snow blower ready to go. But then again, about 80 miles, 100 kilometers or so south of here in the big city of Toronto, there, a little couple flakes of snow, and they end up calling the military in, right? And they're not ready for it at all. So I had to poke at that a little bit,
I don't mind telling you, that was a bit of a joke when I was living in Alberta when that happened. We had a good laugh over that one.
Oh yeah, I was living in the area when that happened, and I was just shaking my head when it was going on. Like, really, we're calling the military in to shovel snow? Well, okay, well, here's what it is, right? And at least they came in, did what they had to do, and got the city going again. But it's been a few years, but we're still poking fun at it.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I touched on the windstorms. That's actually been a thing for the last couple of years here. Is all of a sudden the wind's just been kicking up, and we've been hitting 100, 120 kilometer an hour winds out of nowhere. That storm we had just a couple months ago, when I was talking about earlier in the show there, we lost a couple of trees. I had one of those temporary tarp garages in the back where I stored some things like the boat, and that tarp garage ended up pretty much in the neighbor's place, which is a good distance away. So it's something that's the weather's changing, so we always have to be cognizant of it and be ready for the the ever-changing storms that are coming our way, and be ready for anything that can be thrown our way.
Absolutely. It's pretty common for around here for windstorms to cause power outages as well. And we had a tree come down behind the house actually yesterday, and luckily it went the other way, so it worked out well. But it wouldn't take much to knock down even the power to the outbuildings or anything else, that's for sure.
Yeah, and here we like power outages are far and few between. We usually end up with maybe one or two, maybe three a year. But when it does happen, though, they definitely last a while, anywhere from 7 to 12 hours. So it's a nice thing to have that generator going.
Absolutely. Actually, on the subject of location, it's kind of funny. My wife was telling me a story back when she was younger. She grew up in Winnipeg, of course, and a lot of times they get snowed in, like between the cold weather, the snow, and everything else would drift up and pretty much cover the house. And then they go out to try and get to work, and well, lo and behold, the budget for snow clearing had run out, so they basically couldn't even leave the house. But for them, it became more of a norms thing. So they had food on board and everything else, and certainly backup heat systems is no biggie for them. To give you the opposite experience here, I mean, locally, I was talking to a lady not even like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and she was complaining about last winter how when the power went out, she actually had to go sleep in her neighbor's RV and crank up the propane heater there because she didn't have a large blanket in the house. So
not even a blanket. Wow.
Nothing at all, but because it was basically just more of a long-term rental for her, so she didn't even bother to bring anything because it's the West Coast. I mean, why would you need a blanket? So it's definitely location specific and certainly location dependent on how your mindset is for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And then you got to bring in the regional issues too, right? Like you could be looking at earthquakes, tsunamis, tornadoes. We've actually had a couple confirmed touchdowns in this area just within the last couple of months, which is kind of out of the norm. There was that big tornado that went through Barrie many years ago now, but as far as them actually being reported the last little while, it's been rare, but you got to keep in mind that they can happen. You got to be ready for them.
Actually, you're right about the tornadoes for sure. We actually had one run through Ottawa there as well this summer, if you remember that one.
Oh, I do, yeah.
Yeah, and that was a good one. I actually was talking to a friend of mine. He had family there, and of course, he had to phone to make sure that they had been missed, and sure if the tornado had basically lifted off just by their house, gone pretty much right over their place, and then touched down just beyond it. So they were extremely lucky. But I mean, there's not exactly Tornado Alley in the Ottawa area, but they do get them. And I've even seen them in Saskatoon as well, when I was living in Saskatchewan at one point. And certainly, I grew up around Edmonton right in the 80s, and that's where we had the big one touchdown. We actually had some loss of life there as well.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, so other than that, regional issues, you're absolutely right about the tsunami. I mean, although technically on Vancouver Island, we're in a tsunami zone. That's more on the west coast. I'm on the east coast of the island. But I mean, certainly something to think about. I mean, it's not unheard of. I mean, of course, if there's probably an earthquake big enough to create a tsunami, we'd probably have bigger problems than a washed out house. But
fair enough. Yeah, can't hurt to be ready for it, right?
Absolutely. I guess the way you look at it one way is if you have car insurance and you have house insurance, why not food or power supply insurance? But public perception still needs to come around, I think, a little bit on all this. But
yeah, fair enough. But with the whole food and power insurance, that's where you start with your prepping, right? Is you start with just a little bit of extra food here and there when you're shopping, an extra can or two, a case of water or something, and some batteries, and you just grow it from there. And next thing you know, you've got a little bit of extra insurance that you're ready to go if something does happen.
Absolutely, and hopefully podcasts like this will help people get started for sure.
I hope so, yeah, and hopefully take some of the myths out, and hopefully at some point it won't be such a political thing where everybody looks at you sideways and they realize that it's something important to be getting into.
Absolutely. So what's your take on the federal management aspect of all this?
Yeah, so if you've been kind of in the prepper area for the last couple of years, I think you've probably noticed that government has been hopping on board a lot more the last I'd say about the last 2 years or so, where they're starting to get the word out that you should be having something at your house or in your vehicle that can get you through for at least 72 hours or 3 days. From what I'm hearing, rumor-wise, they're going to start pushing that out to about 96 hours. But for now, their big push is 72. They're trying to push that out there because governments, like they've got some inefficiencies going on. They can't be coming to every single house to help every single person at the onset of something going on, which is kind of what I saw when I was working frontline in emergency services. There is you'd have an ice storm, for example, come in, and there'd be just hundreds and hundreds of calls for individual people that just didn't know what to do because the power was out. It's like you should be able to deal with at least a power outage for 12 to 24 hours.
Oh, absolutely. I would think it's going to take at least 72 hours for the government to get anything in place, let alone any sort of like a massive support level of services for sure.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
I think by mentioning the 72-hour bag and 72-hour kits from the government aspect, I think they're just trying to make it less daunting for people to get into it more than anything else. I don't think 72 hours is a realistic goal or a realistic goal for the government to make it there in time. But I think it's a good start. It's certainly better than nothing for most people.
Oh, absolutely, and it gives somebody a number to plan towards too. I think it's, you tell somebody 72 hours or 3 days, you can kind of get your head wrapped around. I can find food and store it in my place for 3 days, and eventually I figure people will go, oh, maybe I'll push a little bit more than 3 days, and I think that's kind of the hope, is at least you can kind of get your head wrapped around like 3 days isn't that big of a deal, and then people will kind of expand from there, maybe buy a little bit more food and a little bit more water, and just get the mindset going.
Yeah, and I have to give them credit. I mean, at least they are advertising the 72-hour aspect, even locally at little local farm fairs, or, you might see it like a parade, you might see a little government stand or something where they do talk about, some basic preparedness stuff or quiz you on it or anything else. And interestingly enough, there's actually one lady that had a stand here at the local farm fair this last summer, and, she was trying to do emergency preparedness for the regional district. And they had a draw where as long as you could prove that you've done something to increase your preparedness, you were in a draw for a grocery store certificate, which I thought was interesting.
Oh, hopefully the grocery store has food on the shelf still.
Well, exactly. Interestingly enough, though, I sent in my little application because I took a little picture of something I'd done around the house. And she goes, well, you're one of 6 people that have actually sent me an email. So I thought I had pretty good odds, but I still didn't win.
Oh, really? One of 6, you still didn't win.
No.
Oh, so it's not time to go buy a lottery ticket then.
Not yet, no.
The thing I found interesting in this region, like Simcoe Emergency Management, they've been pushing the last little while on social media, like Facebook, for example. They've just been doing some ads about 72-hour kits and how to get them together. And even if you go to their website, and I'll put a link in the show notes so everybody can kind of check them out. But they have checklists that are put together to help you kind of plan things out, and they have a list of things that you should have, and they try to kind of demystify things as well. So it was kind of nice to see that at least the local government in my area here is starting to kind of put the word out and trying to make sure that people are at least prepared for that 72-hour time frame.
Well, I think it's certainly something that they've certainly progressed on for sure, because up until I'd say the last couple of years, their real efforts have been limited to, basically increasing legislation or government powers just in case, like the Emergency Management Act or anything else like that would basically just allow them to seize supplies as necessary from local sources, which may be us or maybe anything else.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, the fact is that it was mostly theoretical up until this point, but at least now they're trying to be a little more proactive about it, which is certainly a step forward.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's good to see, and it kind of starts to help normalize things too, right? And if there's government's pushing out the fact that you got to be ready for 72 hours, it gets people starting to talk about it. People start to talk about it, and then it kind of becomes sort of a socially acceptable sort of thing versus how it can be perceived currently.
For sure. Actually, one good example I can think of actually recently was the Fort McMurray fires. People when the fires basically started almost simultaneously around town. There's actually, I think, 5 different fires starting at the same time, which is, I mean, fishy at best, but who knows? I mean, it could have been a natural event with thunderstorms or whatever have you, but, people didn't have a whole lot of time to get going. And, of course, by not having the tank better than half full or anything else, people got as far as their gas tank would take them, which wasn't very far in a lot of cases. So they're racing a fire behind them, and they're also dealing with traffic. So for the most part, they only got as far as either the gas or the first accident, because in a panic, of course, people don't drive overly responsibly. So the problem is, I guess, for the most part, they were stopped on a highway until it ended up being a privately owned mobile fueling unit showed up to help top off their tanks to get them further south, because, I mean, let's face it, the government couldn't possibly have gotten a government-mandated fuel supply truck there within 72 hours. So
no, definitely not.
No, unfortunately. So the government's first response in the media was actually just to limit ATV use in the Crown land, which, sounds great to prevent further fires, but doesn't actually do much for the current situation at hand, unfortunately. So, but at least it was something, and at least it, it's coming along. So hopefully people learn some lessons from that, especially with a town like that with only one road out heading south, and, I guess further into the bush going north, I suppose, if you want to go to other oil patches.
Yeah, that's a good point, and something that you got to keep in mind too with your emergency planning. There is, if you do plan on leaving your location where you are, a lot of other people are going to be leaving as well. So you might want to take into account that your vehicle might not get you nearly as far as you think it's going to get you, or it might actually work out great and you might get through and be on your way to where you're heading. But keep in mind that you're not the only one with a vehicle that's going to be leaving that area, and you might want to take off a little bit earlier than you think you should be, just to beat that crowd and to not be stuck sitting on the highway going, I wish I left a couple hours earlier.
Well, I don't think it's going to kill anybody if they want to leave their tank at better than half full at all times in a place like that, just to
make that as well.
Yeah, I mean, because you can get pretty far on half a tank of gas as long as you're the first one out of town.
Oh, yeah, I always say half tank is empty. So I usually, when it gets to half tank, I'm off to the gas station to fill up. May as well have a full tank and let it sit there and hope I never need it, right?
So going forward with the idea of personal setup and experiences, Eric, we talked about the hurricane, we talked about the snowstorms. Anything that you'd do personally just to cover the bases for your most obvious or most probable events around your house?
Well, yeah, the one of the main reasons I ended up actually buying the house that I'm in now is it came with that whole home automatic generator, which is great. If the power cuts out, count to 10, the generator kicks in and repowers the house. I don't even have to go and flip a switch or do anything. It's all automatic. So the only thing that I have to do hands-on with that is make sure the oil's changed, make sure the air filter is clean, and just some general maintenance once a year to make sure that it's in good working order. The other reason I ended up buying this place is I've got 2 wood-burning fireplaces in it that are operational. So if something does happen, for example, about 3 or 4 years ago, furnace conked out on me, and I had no heat in the house for a couple of days because the furnace guy who's local in this area was just swamped with calls. So all I did was, and it was chilly too, it was around actually this time, so it was getting cold at night, and I just threw a couple logs in the fire, and that kept the house warm until he was able to come out about 3 or 4 days later and fixed up, and I ended up having to put a whole new furnace in the house. But yeah, it is what it is. Joys of home ownership, right?
Sounds like you're gas powered there with your generator?
It is natural gas powered, yeah. So one of my thoughts is down the road too is you can convert it to propane. So there's just a little switch inside, so it'll do either natural gas or propane. So I'd like to get a propane tank here as well, just in the off chance that something were to happen and the natural gas isn't flowing anymore. At least I could switch over to something that I maintain versus having a company maintain the natural gas. So I can flip it over to propane if I have to, and I can use the propane instead. But that's something down the road I want to look into. And I always usually end up holding at least 2 bush cord worth of wood here in the back shed, just so I've got enough wood if something were to happen in the middle of the winter time and I lost the furnace for a significant period of time. Same scenario as when I did actually lose the furnace. I can just throw the wood in the fire and keep the place warm at least and go from there.
Yeah, it's interesting. With a natural gas generator, actually I learned from a neighbor of ours back when I lived in Ontario that if you're actually in a town system on natural gas, there's only about 4 inches of water column on the pressure there, so for the town accumulators. But interestingly enough, provided that not too many other people are sucking off the same source there, actually that natural gas would probably retain enough pressure to run a generator for at least a couple of weeks, which is very interesting.
Well, that's great. Yeah, I like the idea of having the natural gas just because it's always flowing, but in the off chance that something were to happen, having that secondary fuel source would be great. So it's definitely on my list of projects is to figure out how to get a propane tank in here and hook it all up and obviously make it safe so that I can just flip it and not blow the place up. But also if something were to happen, I can just flip the switch and go over to propane. That'd be awesome.
No, it's very good. Actually, I've got a fairly similar system over here. We've got I can't say it, but it's my primary. I can certainly say it's a backup heat source here. It's a wood stove. Insurance wouldn't let me use it as a main heat source, but we do have a wood stove here in the main part of the house. It's a fairly small house, open concept, and so we use that as our backup heat and cooking setup to combat the most likely event for us, which is power outages, which it probably happens about 6 to 10 times a year here. On the odd super duper emergency event that we get, which is like heavy wet snow, that usually causes a guaranteed power outage for at least the better part of a day. So that's certainly something to have around the house. And we have basically a winter's worth of wood sitting in the woodshed covered to keep the rain off as well. As far as the winter in Manitoba article we were talking about there, I was trying to keep some snacks, water, and a jacket in the car, basically seasonally dependent. So whether it's a rain jacket or even just a light jacket for summertime. I always tell the kids to make sure and dress like you're going to have to walk home.
That's great advice, yeah. As you never know, right? It could happen.
Well, after I get past the eye rolls, they do listen to me and grab the appropriate jacket. So
and that's a topic that we'll get into in another podcast as well. It's just seasonal preparedness and and the fact that you should be flipping your stuff over as the seasons come, and we'll talk about various things you can add to kits and what you should have depending on the season. But that's something we'll get into in a future episode for sure.
Absolutely. I guess you got a bit of an idea here, Eric, if you're okay with this. I'm going to do
Sure.
something called a podcast challenge, basically where we try and get the listeners, not sure how many we have yet, but I'm sure they'll increase with time. We're going to try and give them a challenge every podcast now, which is kind of like a small, low-cost, kind of a low-profile thing you can do to increase your level of preparedness without looking like a doomsday prepper or anything else to your friends or anything else. But I'm just going to run this by you, and and certainly for the listeners, if they have any feedback on if they met the challenge or found a better or cheaper way to do it, I'd love to hear about it, because I mean, there's 6 million different ways to do the same thing for sure when it comes to preparedness. Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to get the listeners kind of involved in this and make it more of an interactive type of show versus, two of us just gabbing away at people and them listening. That's great and everything. But if we can get this be more of an interactive show and get everybody kind of involved and have some fun with it, that would be great.
For sure. And I mean, honestly, it's even better if we can find something we can disagree on rather than just be an echo chamber as well. So for sure, if you guys have something that's going to be a tough answer, we'd love to hear about it for sure. So I think for today's podcast challenge, I think I'd like to get any listeners to send in the idea of maybe making a list of any local hazards they might personally face, and with which one would be a priority to them as well. Because I mean, if you're preparing for the most likely event to happen, it's probably the best use of your resources for sure. So if you want us to talk about any particular hazard or eventuality, please let us know for sure. We can always use another podcast idea.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great. And then we can discuss it. We can open up the idea to everybody that's listening. We can really get the conversation going. And then, as I've said in past episodes as well, if you want to actually be on the show and discuss it instead of just emailing in, let us know. We'll get you on the show. All you need is a microphone, and then we'll get you hooked up with the next time we're recording, and you can talk about things yourself if you'd like and share your experiences firsthand. Or if you're not comfortable with that, put it in an email. We'll read it out ourselves and get your information out there for everybody else to listen to.
Sounds good. And actually, on that note too, needing a microphone is certainly important. I'm talking on my cell phone microphone for now, but I'll certainly get a better one by the next podcast. So I do appreciate the listeners' patience with the audio quality for today. Did we get any listener email this time, Eric?
The only email that we've received since the last show was from iTunes, and thankfully they've approved my application. So we're going to be able to be found on iTunes now. So that is exciting. We're starting to grow, and we're still on Podbean, of course, but iTunes has approved us as well. But besides that, no feedback for this time around. But hopefully in our next recording, we'll have some people that have emailed in.
Absolutely. And where can people get a hold of you if they need to get a hold of you with the listener email?
So the best way to email the show is feedback@prepperpodcast.ca. And then that way I can read the email and then get your information out there. As always, let me know if you want me to use your name or if you want to stay anonymous. If you want to be anonymous, and obviously I'm not putting your name and information out there. If you don't want to stay anonymous and you want to use your name and general location, then make sure to put that in as well, and I'll make sure to mention it when we're reading your feedback during the feedback portion of the show.
Well, sounds great. As we get towards the end of the podcast here, Eric, I want to just do a little shout-out section here, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Just first things first, I mean, just because this is one of our first episodes and certainly our first joint episode, I actually had to ask some technical advice from a couple other people. So I just want to give Andrew from Canadian Patriot Podcast a bit of a shout out. He certainly helped me with some initial setup questions and probably saved me about 15, 20 minutes, maybe even an hour worth of Google searching before I finally got to what I actually needed. And so from this beginner, a very big thank you for sure. And if you haven't checked out his podcast already, that'd be great. It's Canadian Patriot Podcast. It's a little edgy, probably edgier than our show will ever be, but it's certainly informative, and it's, it can't hurt to look at a different viewpoint as well.
Well, absolutely. It's a great podcast. I've been listening to it for quite some time now, and I quite enjoy it. And I thank them as well for being able to give us some information, help us figure out how to get this recording thing going.
Absolutely. I also got one more shout out. That's just to you, Eric, for thanks for letting me join this podcast. I really appreciate it. It's been fun so far. I'd love to do another one for sure.
Well, absolutely. No, thanks for coming out. And it's way better to be able to actually talk to somebody else and sit in my office here and just kind of talk to myself and then hope that everybody else is listening. So it's nice to have another guest on and a co-host. It's great.
Absolutely. It's been fun for sure. So where can we find the podcast now, just for now?
So we are still on Podbean. So if you hop on podbean.com and search for us there. And now apparently we're on iTunes. So you can search for us on iTunes. And as more episodes come out, I'll be starting to be able to post to other locations as well. Spotify, we actually need to hit the five episode number before we're able to publish to them. But as soon as we hit episode number 5, I'll be hitting the button to publish to them, and then you'll be able to find us on there as well.
As far as preparedness needs, Eric, do you have any suggestions?
Well, I would suggest the store that I run, being Rapid Survival. You can find me there. It's rapidsurvival.com. All kinds of emergency preparedness gear there. I got ham radios, food, water storage, you name it, it's there. So you can check that out. And certainly if you have any questions, you can flip me an email and ask as well. And how about you, Ian? How can we get a hold of you?
Well, I'm available at the email account for now, the islandretreat@gmail.com. I don't really do Facebook or any of the other social media programs at all. That's kind of a policy in the house here for sure. By all means, just drop an email if you have any questions, either region specific or general in nature at all. I'm always available to answer questions for sure. Perfect.
Well, with that, I think I'm going to end episode number 3 of the Canadian Prepper podcast. Thanks for joining us, and tune in for the next episode. We're going to cover off hunting, some more ways that you can be prepared around your own place, and hopefully some listener feedback as well. So it's going to be a good episode, and looking forward to getting that out there. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and until next time, be prepared, stay safe, and keep on learning.